A very good morning to all of you. We have been talking about post-structuralism. Initially, we talked about structuralism. Now, uh, we have started talking about post-structuralism. In yesterday's lecture, we refer to the beginning of post-structuralism as a literary movement in the late 20th century. Of course, it is a philosophical movement as well, and we understood that it is very difficult to summarize this particular movement, but it was a kind of opposition to the popular structuralism of the earlier period. And we also came to know that it is closely related to postmodernism. Of course, they are not two synonyms, or they are not synonymous. They are two separate concepts. There are certain similarities, we have to understand that. And this approach to textual analysis replaces the reader. In this particular approach, the reader replaces the author. We understood that. Now the reader becomes the prominent aspect in the interpretation of the text. That's what we understood yesterday. Besides, we understood certain key assumptions. Okay, so the concept of self as a singular and coherent entity is a fictional construct according to this particular movement. And further, for them, an individual rather comprises conflicting tensions in knowledge claims. And there we refer to the examples like gender, class, profession, etc. These factors have a deciding role, a determining role in the interpretation of the text. So the interpretation of meaning of a text is dependent on reader's own personal concept of self, how he perceives himself or herself. So that is very important. Further, they assume that an author's intended meaning means, of course, there can be a stable self, still, is secondary to the meaning that the reader perceives. What reader understands is very important, not what the author wants to convey. And a literary text has no single purpose, meaning, or existence. That's what they assumed. And they thought that it is necessary to utilize variety of perspectives to create a multifaceted interpretation of a text. We understood all these things in the last lecture, therefore I'm quickly revising this. And we came to know that it emerged in 1960s. This period was a period of uh, turmoil in France. It was the period of rebellion and disillusionment with traditional values. So these are some of the features of post-structuralism. You need to collect the information related to the features of post-structuralism. So this is a kind of disillusionment, rebellion against the traditional values. And this particular rebellion and disillusionment was accompanied by a resurgence of interest in feminism, Western Marxism, phenomenology, and nihilism. Actually, I suggest to people to go through these terms, try to understand these terms. We do not have enough time to explain every concept in the class. The Canvas material is already available with you people. You can go back, refer to all these terms and concepts. Now let's come to the prominent post-structuralist. Many prominent post-structuralists, who are labeled as, post-structuralist, not by not by themselves. They don't call themselves post-structuralist. They are labeled as post-structuralist by others. And these prominent post-structuralists include Jacques Derrida, the French philosopher and post-structuralist, Michel Foucault. Now, you should pay keen attention towards the pronunciation of the names. I said not, I didn't say Jacques, it's Jacques Derrida, Michel Foucault, and Roland Barthes. These are the prominent post-structuralists. And all these were initially structuralists, Initially, they were structuralists as well. but later came to reject most of the structuralism's claims. These structuralists, rejected the structuralist notion of the fixity of the relationship between the signifier and the signified. Means the structuralists assumed that there is the fixed meaning, but these people, post-structuralists, of course, they were structuralists initially. They oppose this very particular relationship, fixity of the relationship between the signifier and the signified. Okay, I have already explained the concepts like signifier and signified, the binary oppositions. They also, oppose the overall grandness of the theory. No, means structuralists believe that no, they could explain everything. They could explain every literary piece, and this very idea was opposed by the post-structuralists, who themselves were structuralists initially. That is very interesting. Let's quickly get introduced with Jacques Derrida. We are going to study Michel Foucault in our next topic. Therefore, I won't talk about Michel Foucault here. So Jacques Derrida was a key figure in the early post-structuralist movement. Later, he founded the deconstructionism movement. Now, I have already given this concept in background topics. Apart from post-structuralism, he also founded the deconstructionism movement. In 1966, he had given a lecture on the topic structure, sign, and play in the discourse of the human science. This is very interesting essay. I suggest you to go through it. This is not a part of a syllabus, but for your general understanding of literary criticism, it is really crucial to read Derrida's essay, Structure, Sign, and Play in the Discourse of the Human Science. And in this particular lecture, it was who were the first one to propose some theoretical limitations. So you need to underline these. Six at an American university, he proposed some theoretical limitations to structuralism. In this lecture, he identified an apparent destabilizing or decentering in intellectual life. Means he denied the concept of stability. No, he identified that there is a kind of destability, and there is no center as such. The center is not at the center, rather it is at the periphery itself. Now, whatever is happening in the present world, in the contemporary world, due to the pandemic, you can understand this in the context of Derrida's deconstructionism. Okay, there is nothing, there is nothing, the called stable or stability as such, and there is no center. Okay, and this particular thinking came to be known as post-structuralism. So we can understand, we can note down that the beginning of post-structuralism is credited to Jacques Derrida's lecture on structure, sign, and play in the discourse of the human science. In this lecture, he further referred to the displacement of the author of a text. Means I talked about it while talking about the key assumptions of post-structuralism. These post-structuralists, give secondary importance to the author's intended meaning. So this is what displacement of the author of a text is. They didn't approve this particular greatest effect of the author, okay, on a text. Rather, they favored various readers, and of the text, their readers with different interpretations, with different backgrounds. So they were favored by the post-structuralist. Another important key figure is Roland Barthes. Of course, Michel Foucault is also there. As I mentioned, Michel Foucault is the part of your syllabus. Therefore, we shall be talking about Michel Foucault elaborately later. Roland Barthes was one more French literary theorist, structuralist and post-structuralist. Originally, he was a confirmed structuralist. He was a key figure in structuralism. We have already come to know about his contribution while discussing structuralism. He published his The Death of the Author. You can see Derrida's lecture was given in 1966, and the Death of the Author was published in the year 1968, and this is one more important work of post-structuralism. In his book, Barthes argued that any literary text has multiple meanings. There is no single meaning as such. And the title itself is explicit enough to tell you that the post-structuralists declare the death of the author. They do not give importance to the author's intended meaning. They are not interested in knowing what the author wants to convey. The author is not important for them. Okay, because there are multiple meanings. It is a reader who understands those meanings, who comprehends those meanings. So he argued that the author was not the prime source of the work's semantic content. I am sure that you are familiar with the word semantics by now. Semantics is the study of meaning in language, not outside language. Pragmatics is the study of meaning outside language, the contextual meaning, we can say. So he argued that the author was not the prime source of the work's semantic content. Further, in his 1967 work, Elements of Semiology, he also advanced the concept of the meta-language. He talked about the term meta-language, the concept meta-language. What is meta-language? Meta-language is a systematized way of talking about concepts like meaning and grammar beyond the constraints of traditional language. Meta means beyond. Okay, so he talks about the meaning and grammar beyond the constraints, limitations of traditional language, first order language. Apart from these two key figures in post-structuralism, you can also name the critics like Gilles Deleuze, Julia Kristeva, Umberto Eco, Jean Baudrillard, and Judith Butler. All these are some more prominent post-structuralists. Okay, so this is how we understand the concept of post-structuralism and the major contributors to structuralism.